one that can see.
I want to share another video about 2025. This is Alice Bailey, one of the really big occultics. She followed the teachings of that Blavatsky lady. But I shared a video a while back where in her book, this was like, shoot, over 100 years ago, talking about the hierarchy. Their Messiah will return in 2025. But just listen to what a little bit of this Walter Veith guy has. He's a really, really smart guy. And, you know, before anybody says anything, I know he's a Seventh-day Adventist. He might be in the club. I don't know. And but just listen to what he's saying. All right. Yeah, like I said, disclaimer. I do not, you know, support his doctrine, obviously. I'm not a Seventh-day Adventist. But he is a very smart guy, but I think you guys will like this.
Well, directly. Now, Alice A. Bailey, 2025 hierarchy will manifest itself. Now, this is interesting. Now, Alice A. Bailey is basically the prophetess for the United Nations.
Yes.
She is...
That's the truth. She's the prophetess for the United Nations.
The one that followed Blavatsky.
Yes.
Now, when I was still involved in all of these things, I was pertinently told by one of the highest channels in the world that if you are a student of Blavatsky, then you have arrived.
Yes.
Now, this is a personal experience. And Alice A. Bailey, of course, Temple of Understanding and all of these things in the United Nations, they are schooled. The whole education system is schooled on Alice A. Bailey. Let's have a look at this quote. It comes from a book, The Externalization of the Hierarchy. Maybe we must explain who the hierarchy is.
Mm-hmm.
The hierarchy are those spiritual Masters. Entities that run the world from behind the scenes. This is a reality in the thinking of the United Nations, right?
Correct.
Otherwise they wouldn't have it as an official organization affiliated to the United Nations.
Yes.
And this hierarchy, if you know your Bible, is of course a demonic hierarchy. These are demons communicating with humanity.
Yes.
This is what it is. Now, you can look at the publisher. It was written in 1957, and it's Lucis Trust, which originally was Lucifer Publishing Company. But the name was too much in the face, so they changed it to Lucis Trust. Same thing. She writes, "Thus a great and new movement is proceeding, and a tremendously increased interplay and interaction is taking place." Interaction with whom?
Yes.
This will go on until, that's stunning, AD 2025. During the years intervening between now and then, very great changes will be...
You know, I've heard a lot of people, especially over the last month, always quote Matthew 24, "No man knows the day nor hour." That's true. Obviously, we don't know the day and hour. But it does say we'll know the season. These occultists, these people, these principalities, they know about where God, Jesus does say 6,000 years. They know the year. Nobody knows the day nor hour, but they know the year. And in my opinion, believe what you want, I'm not a prophet. Obviously, I've never set a date. 2025 is the year. Now, whether 2025 ends, you know, in January 1st, I don't believe it does. I believe that April Fool's Day will be the end of 2025. So sometime from now until April, this stuff is going to take place. That's just what I believe, just from everything that I've studied. Obviously, I could be wrong, but everything points to 2025.
seen taking place. When was this written?
1957.
1957. This is interesting. Very great changes will be seen taking place. And at the great general assembly of the hierarchy. What's she talking about here?
A meeting of the demonic forces.
A meeting of the demonic forces, held as usual every century. In 2025, the date in all probability will be set for the first stage of the externalization of the hierarchy. What does that mean? Where they will present themselves to humanity so that you can see them face to face. Does that sound like Satan masquerading as an angel of light, saying, I am the Christ, I have come back?
Yes, I've changed the laws.
Didn't we deal with that in the spirit of prophecy? That he will say, I have changed the laws. So must there have been an attempt to keep Sunday by that stage?
Yes.
Is he reinforcing it?
Yes.
Were there calamities?
If this lady's right, 2025 is almost up. The Antichrist will be revealed this year. That's what it's saying. That's what Bailey is saying in her book.
That led people to believe these things. We're just putting it into a biblical scenario. Which countries would be hardest hit? Those that had
the light, Protestant countries.
And rejected it. National apostasy will be followed by
national ruin.
Interesting. 2025. The date in all probability will be set for the first stage of the externalization of the hierarchy. The present cycle from now until that date. Is she making that date prominent?
Yes.
What was the date in Deagle?
2025.
What was the date in that movie clip?
2025.
As you can see here, Deagle takes their information from a lot of government links and sources, including the U.S. Coast Guard, Department of Defense, the government, United States Air Force, Army, Marines, U.S. Navy, sources U.S. DOD, Department of State, CIA, World Bank, and the European Union. Deagle lists pertinent facts for 209 countries, including gross domestic product in U.S. dollars, millions, military expenditures, the power purchase parity in U.S. dollars, as well as the U.S. dollar. And we have 209 countries ranked. What you're going to see here for the U.S. is going to blow your mind. As you can see, we got U.S. 2013 information, population 316 million, 33 inhabitants per square mile, a gross domestic product of $17 trillion, and a military budget of $726 billion. Let's go down to the forecast for 2025. What do we got? How did we get from 316 million in 2013 to a forecast of 69 million to a forecast of 69?
Testing in its methods. Are we being tested right now as to how far we can be pushed?
Yes, how far they can put the control on us.
And intended to be revelatory in its techniques and results. You can see, therefore, that Chohans, masters, initiates, world disciples, disciples and aspirants affiliated with the hierarchy. Excuse me. According to this statement from Alice A. Bailey, an official part of the ruling powers of this world, are the people in the world involved in this issue and people in the governments talking to these entities?
Yes.
So there's communication between the demonic world. Could these demons be saying there's coming an intervention, we must prepare for it? Get your space wars ready.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're really talking conspiracies now,
Yeah.
right? So I hope that all the sensitive people have tuned out at this
Put on
stage.
their tinfoil hats.
Yes. You can therefore see the Chohans, the masters, the initiates. So where would you find initiates?
In secret societies.
Aha! What do they call a person who leads, let's say, a Masonic lodge?
A master. A grand master.
A grand master, even a worshipful master. Not just the word worshipful master.
All right. Yeah, he's flashing the 666 there. Okay. But like I said in the beginning, yeah, he's probably in the club. But this guy is smart. He's definitely, you know, we've got some of the most hard-hitting truth from the initiates, which I don't know if he is or not. But he's done a lot of videos about hand signs and symbols, so you would think that he would know better. But like RFB says, at any rate.
Jesus says, call no one master. And you shall worship the Lord thy God and him alone. And here this man is called worshipful master. Shouldn't that ring a bell in every mind out there that is associated with secret societies? Shouldn't they run for their lives? Shouldn't they flee from them, knowing that this is a demonic organization, if they even dare to use terminology like that?
Yep.
But they don't see it. Initiates, world disciples and aspirants affiliated with the hierarchy. Affiliated.
That means
Joined together with demonic forces.
sitting at one table.
Are all at this time passing through a cycle of great activity. She continues, today human beings as a whole are so loudly invocative that the entire trend of the life of the hierarchy and its plans to date have been subjected to change. I'm glad God interferes every now and then.
Yes.
To postponement as far as certain interior and purely hierarchical determinations are concerned, and to a hastening of certain plans which were slated, if I may use such a word, to take place several centuries later than this, but which, owing to the unexpected preparedness of humanity, can take place not prematurely really, but securely in the fullness of time. This is amazing. Of course, this is eyewash.
Yeah.
Satan knows the time frame exactly, but he's talking to his people as though, you know, this is going to go on forever. But
Satan knows his time is short. You know, in the Bible where it says that he comes in with great wrath because he knows he hath but a short time. That in essence means that he knows how much time he has. So like I said, we can know the season. We don't know the day nor hour, but 2025.
because you are so beautifully brilliant, I've listened to many of these communications and the way he speaks, and in the New Age movement, the Maitreya, my dear ones, my super intelligent ones, my this, my that. It's incredibly irritating.
Well, the terminology of fullness of time is also...
That I was just going to comment on. I'm glad you know.
Before he says anything, the fullness of time, the Apostle Paul said that we are in the dispensation of grace. Dispensations are the fullness of times. When the dispensation of grace is over, that's the end of the fullness of time of the age of grace. That's when the Antichrist will be revealed. That's what I believe she's talking about.
Notice that too, the fullness of time. He knows the time frame. We've talked about time frames, and we certainly haven't made them long time frames. And 2025 is well within those time frames. Now, we're not saying 2025. This is a demon saying 2025. Correct. So the fullness of time as regards the particular planning with which we are dealing is from now until the year 2025. That's pretty definitive.
Yeah.
A brief period of time indeed, in which to see the consummation of the larger purpose of the planetary logos. That's the word. That is Satan taking the place of Jesus Christ.
Yes, it's terrible.
Unbelievable. Working through the three major centers within his body of manifestation. That's his disciples. That's the governments of the world. Now there are rumors in the realms of, let's say, the king of the king of Manna, who rules all the nations and has this pot of gold that he sits on to finance the nations, that every single leader, so they say in these pages, that every single leader somehow has to sign a contract with this logos. That's very interesting. We're deep into conspiracy theories now. But we're not actually in conspiracy theories because we're quoting directly from the sources.
Yes.
And if someone doesn't want to believe these sources, that's their prerogative. But the United Nations runs its schedule according to it.
This.
And the year 2025 is becoming, that's their prerogative. But the United Nations runs its schedule according to it.
This.
And they're meeting right now as we speak.
And the year 2025 is becoming ubiquitous. We're reading it here, we're reading it there. So, this purpose was threefold in nature. I've made this practical application and this immediate illustration of teaching anent glamour, illusion, and maya because the whole world problem has reached a crisis today, and because its clarification will be the outstanding theme of all progress. Now listen to this. Educational. Will we be re-educated? One of the great signs before the end is that Satan must impersonate Christ before the coming of the Lord. Matthew 24 verse 5, for many shall come in my name saying I am Christ and shall deceive many, and 2 Corinthians 11:14, and no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. A power working from beneath is working to bring about the last great scenes in the drama. Satan coming as Christ, and working with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in those who are binding themselves together in secret societies. When I read this and I hear all these people talk about conspiracy theories, we're not dealing with conspiracy theories. We are dealing with prophetic fulfillment. As the crowning act in the great drama of deception, Satan himself will personate Christ. The church has long professed to look to the Savior's advent at the consumption of her hopes. Now the great deceiver will make it appear that Christ has come. In different parts of the earth, Satan will manifest himself amongst men as a majestic being of dazzling brightness, resembling the description of the Son of God given by John in the Revelation. This is a future prediction. The glory that surrounds him is unsurpassed by anything that mortal eyes have yet beheld. The shout of triumph rings out upon the air. Christ has come! Christ has come! The people prostrate themselves in adoration before him while he lifts up his hand.
Allá! Viene una tormenta!
What did he just say?
He said there's a storm coming in.
Viano tormente.
What did you say?
I said there's a storm coming.
There's a storm coming, Ari.
There is a storm coming!
There's a storm coming.
There's a storm coming, Mr. Wayne.
There's a storm coming, brother.
There's a storm coming.
There's a storm coming, Dr. Suresh.
There's a storm coming.
There is a storm coming, a black and terrible storm.
There's a storm coming!
I sense there's a storm coming.
There's a storm coming!
Alice says there's a storm coming.
There's a storm coming.
Storm's coming.
Storm coming soon.
A storm is coming, Frank says. A storm is coming. Our storm.
Storm's coming.
The storm's coming.
There's a fucking storm coming, man!
Storm's coming.
Storm's coming.
Storm's coming.
The great storm is coming! The wind that overturns the land!
The storm is coming.
There is a storm coming!
Hey, Cody, there's a storm coming.
The storm is coming. There's a storm coming.
There's a storm coming, Frank.
Storm coming, kids. Let's get inside.
You can't sleep outside. There's a storm coming.
Storm's coming.
Oh, you all better get your umbrellas out because there's a storm coming. Come on, Jorge, give it to him.
There's a storm coming! What?
There's a storm coming, buddy. There's a storm coming.
The new studio and the new programs that we're filming over there, our very first shows are dealing with this question, how the Jewish feasts are connected to the arrival of Apophis. Well, I happen to be doing programs last year in the old studio with Derek Gilbert. And while we were talking about Apophis and the wormwood prophecy, I made the case that if Apophis is the fulfillment of the wormwood prophecy, Revelation chapter 8, that would happen in the middle of the Great Tribulation period. And then I made this point. I said, so if you are, and most evangelical Christians, whether they know it or not, are dispensationalists who believe in a 7-year tribulation period, if that's what you believe, and if Apophis is wormwood, then with that being in the middle of the tribulation period, you would count backward 3.5 years to arrive at the beginning of what is called the 7-year Great Tribulation period. Well, while I was saying that, Derek and Sharon, who were interviewing me, Derek is sitting across and he's got his iPad or whatever it is he's using, his MacBook, and he had opened a Jewish calendar, a Hebrew calendar, on his device. And he went 3.5 years earlier, and he literally turned pale because 3.5 years earlier, before the impact of Apophis, to the day is the middle of the Feast of Tabernacles. Now, we probably don't have enough time for me to explain all the ways in which end times prophecy experts connect the Feast of Tabernacles and the Feast of Trumpets with the beginning of the 7-year tribulation period and the second coming of Jesus Christ. But just suffice to say this, it not only falls into the middle of the Feast of Tabernacles, but literally on the 7th day of the Feast of Tabernacles in 2025. So just 5 years from now. Why is that important? Because the 7th day of the Feast of Tabernacles is when the ancient Hebrews, get this, sacrificed 7 bulls in commemoration of God delivering them from all of the gods of the nations, but in particular, delivering them from the gods of Egypt, and in particular, delivering them from Apophis, the ancient Egyptian god of chaos. Literally, that day in antiquity is 3.5 years to the day from when Apophis is going to strike the earth, is when the Hebrews will be celebrating how God in antiquity delivered them from Apophis. So is God going to deliver his own people 3.5 years earlier? 10 days before that is the Feast of Trumpets, which is also connected to the second coming of Christ. Why? Because the Apostle Paul drew a parallel to the Feast of Trumpets when he said, at the last trump, so during the Feast of Trumpets, the shofar is sounded 100 times. Paul says, at the last trump, the dead in Christ shall rise. Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. But get this, in 2025, 120 days before that is the Feast of Pentecost. And in biblical numerology, the number 120 is the number of the end of mankind. God said in Genesis, my spirit will not always strive with man, for his years will be 120. And that set the pattern for that to be the representation of the end of mankind. Of course, Moses was also a parody of that, in that he died at 120 years of age. So all of these highly important Jewish feasts that are connected to the second coming of Christ are absolutely connected 3.5 years earlier to from the impact of Apophis, which I believe is the fulfillment of the wormwood prophecy of Revelation chapter 8. One more final thing, because we totally are not going to have time to talk about this. The ancient Essenes, the inhabitants of Qumran. You know, lots of people, they know the Essenes from the Dead Sea Scrolls that were discovered there in the 1940s. What they don't know, and by the way, this has only been unearthed in the last 50 years. Archaeologists have also recovered prophecies that the Essenes made, and even material that illustrates who the Essenes were. 150 years before the birth of Jesus Christ, the Essenes began prophesying about the first advent of the coming of the Messiah. They said that he would come at a time when a king named Herod would be a king and he would turn evil. They said he would die in the year 32 AD, which is what scholars believe exactly happened. They said he will die not only for Jewish people, but he will be sacrificed for the Gentiles as well and give birth to an age of grace that would extend for a period of 2,000 years. The list literally goes on and on. We're going to produce a documentary film in 2021 about all of this. But why am I bringing this all up now? Because they also prophesied this, that mankind, now this was over 2,000 years ago, these highly accurate prophets called the Essenes who lived in Qumran, they predicted that mankind will enter its final age. Guess when? In the year 2025. So that list goes on and on. People need to get these books from you because I predict that we are in a countdown now. And in fact, we're going to produce a book about that too that we'll have out in 2021 sometime. And I won't give you the title to it because somebody else would steal the title then and throw out a cheap version of the book just by listening to what I'm talking about. So right now it's top secret information, but there are a massive amount of indicators that 2025 is a pivotal year that the world needs to be paying attention to.
Oh, the plot thickens. We got lots of information coming in. All right. Lots of people figuring this out. We're on the Gregorian calendar today, guys. And look at this. The Gregorian calendar was first put into use in 1582 when Pope Gregory instituted it. Okay. Wait a second. I was even talking about the Julian calendar. I didn't put this together, and somebody put... Well, lots of people are putting this together. Here, check this out. Now, this is crazy. Yes, the Julian calendar was in use when Jesus was alive. Julius Caesar introduced the Julian calendar, and guess when? Look at that number. Look at that number. Look at that number. Look at that number. The Julian calendar just happened to come into existence in 45. Oh, my goodness. 45 BC. So it was established calendar of the Roman Empire, which ruled over Palestine, where Jesus lived at the time of his birth and ministry. 45. Folks, what is 45, everybody? You think that's just a darn coincidence? Ain't no coincidence here. 45 is what? The square root of 2025. Oh my goodness. Which means 45 times 45 is 2025. And even 20 plus 25 is 45. Oh my goodness, and even 4 and 5 on a clock are 20 minutes and 25 minutes, 2025. And that's when the Julian calendar came in. Now, why is this important? Because if we go by the Julian calendar, Feast of Trumpets is actually on October 6th and 7th. A lot of us thought that the Feast of Trumpets is on the new moon as well. But wait a second. Look at what the Bible says. Psalm 81 verse 3. Blow the trumpet at the new moon, at the full moon, on our feast day. You're not going to find this in the King James either. You know, I love my King James, but I'm going to tell you what, there is some weakness in the way that it's written in a few places so far that I found. But there's probably more. This version of the Bible is the English Standard Version. Now let's move to the New King James. New King James says, blow the trumpet at the time of the new moon, comma, at the full moon on our solemn feast day. Now that was talking about the Feast of Trumpets, full moon. Now watch this. The full moon in October, coming up, 2025, is the full harvest moon. Would you look at that? Harvest moon. Get it? Appearing on Monday, October 6th at 11:47 p.m. Eastern Time. It's also known as the first of 3 consecutive supermoons in 2025. And remember, these are not Israel's days. God entrusted them to Israel, but the Feast of Trumpets was the day that Adam was created, which was the 6th day of creation. And when was the Julian calendar put in time? 45 BC. What does Adam's name equal in Hebrew? 45. Oh, yes, folks. Oh, yes. So, it could still be the Feast of Trumpets. Would you look at that? Would you look at that? Just look at that. Would you look at that? Look at that. Just look at that. Would you look at that? So, what exactly this means is that September 24th and 23rd on the Julian calendar is October 6th and 7th on the Gregorian calendar that we're on today. So, on the Julian calendar, it could still be September 23rd and 24th. I'll tell you this, I will be watching.